free to use the chat at any time, but I am going to mute you all just for background noise. I think that you should actually all be muted. So I should have first greeted you with how I greet your students on the first day. You guys probably saw more of my face than any of your students, so congratulations. But I promise that I'm smiling under my mask way more than they think. There are going to be some beeps throughout this presentation because I'm letting people in, just as a heads up. Like your middle schoolers, I also cannot sit still. I like to be very, very active. I like to be outside a lot, so I understand how they feel most of the time. And I like to take those breaks with them. I have two nephews who are both adults now. They're not very cute anymore, but I did see them go through middle and high school. And so I am very familiar with that process. And your students probably know that I take learning very, very seriously, but I try not to take myself very seriously. And so that's, I think, why I get along with middle schoolers quite well. My education, I actually didn't study math in college at first. I studied psychology and education, and I had a career in sales. So I use that because every day I sell math to your students who sometimes don't always love math. I actually tell your students on the very first day of school, I didn't like math in middle school. It wasn't my favorite. I chose to teach it because I think that the problem solving that you get from math is very, very important. I also think that learning how to work through a challenge is important. And I also love teaching a subject that students don't necessarily love. I think that it's more rewarding to see that confidence grow with a subject that they come in and they think, hey, I don't know if I can do this yet. And then seeing that they can, it's awesome. I went back to San Diego State to get my teaching credential in math. I am also now at San Diego State to get my master's in education. So where I've taught high school, I've taught at Carmel Valley Middle School, and I am so happy to be at Pacific Trails because we have the best staff ever. And I'm also a former student in the district. I tell your students, my students, two truths and a lie on the first day of school. One of them is that I went to Carmel Valley Middle School and Torrey Pines High School. This is a truth, and it's always fun when they're like, that's not true because it wasn't open that long ago. And I was like, yes, it was, but thank you for that. It's always humbling. I'm not going to really spend too much time on this because you can find this on my website. You can find this on the district math website. But this is what they're going to learn this year. I'm going to get to where your students learn. It looks prettier than this corner of behind my desk, I promise. This is what they see. They're always going to come in. They're always going to write down their homework. They're always going to write down the learning, or they're not going to write down the learning objective. They're always going to write down the homework. They're always going to see a learning objective and say, I should be able to do this by the end of the day. They're always going to have a heads up about a quiz or a test that's coming up or some kind of event. More pictures of where they learn. But the important stuff, my website. Last year, I found that Google Classroom was the best way to do everything, but parents can't access Google Classroom unless you log in with your student's email, as we saw with technical difficulties tonight. So I'm not going to do that this year unless it becomes something that we need to do, which hopefully it will not. My website, I'm just going to show you how to get there from Google. If you go to Google and you just Google Hunter PTMS, you don't need to remember it, just my last name and Pacific Trails. I mentioned these back to school night slides are already under the parent portal if you want to share them with a spouse or whomever. But go ahead and click on Math A, and this will bring you to my calendar. My calendar, your students should know at this point, is where everything lives. We are doing digital notes this year. If your students like, that is not for me, that is okay with me. They are welcome to print out the lesson packet each module, and they're welcome to print out the homework packet each module. These are 2 separate packets. I know it's a little bit confusing. They're also welcome to take digital notes in class and then just print the homework and do homework on paper. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to this week because you will notice that we have a quiz on Monday if your student has not shared. I break up the first quiz into 2 smaller quizzes to make it a little bit lower stakes, but they're first mini quizzes on Monday, and I have some study suggestions for them. Okay. There have been some more absences than I expected in the last couple weeks, so I have also updated my calendar to include lesson videos. If your student is somebody who has to be quarantined, but they're not sick and they still feel healthy and can do their schoolwork, they should be following along the lessons with the lesson videos and then completing the homework. I actually, oh, I've been sitting too long. My lights are turning off. I actually encourage them to work with other students. Maybe they have a student in one of my other classes. That's totally okay if they work together on their homework. I think it's a great thing because they can hear each other explain it. Okay, back to here. District support. Our district's awesome, and we wrote our own math curriculum, and we have our own math support site. They can also print all the modules here, but I'm going to link them on my calendar every time too. But if they ever wanted extra practice, extra videos that aren't on my calendar, there's a whole section that they could come for module 1. So if they're like, I really didn't understand the probability of dice, they could go, oh, I'm going to watch these videos. Okay. Aries. I say that Aries is updated after tests and quizzes, but it's updated, honestly, a lot more than that. I would be checking it regularly. I would say at least every 2 weeks. And if your student is missing an assignment, the first thing, ask them about it. They probably know about it. If they don't, or they think they already turned it in, you can email me and let me know, and we'll get it figured out. Please have your student email me, let me know, get a homeroom pass as soon as they feel like they are not understanding something, because the sooner, the better. We have already talked a little bit about absences, so I'm not going to go over this. But how you can help, I've already talked about checking Aries regularly. Their homework. Their homework, they should show all of their work on their homework. And then they should also correct their homework. The homework key also lives on my calendar. If they're like, I understand all the homework, I understand everything for the quiz, ask them to teach you. If they can teach you that problem and teach you how to do it, then they probably know it. After the test, go ahead and encourage them to do test corrections. Check those corrections. Did they actually understand their mistakes? And then again, encourage them to ask for help as soon as possible. I am the person that will be at Academic Power Hour on Wednesdays after school. So if you guys aren't aware of what Academic Power Hour is, it's Monday through Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m. in the Learning Commons after school. I'm going to be there every single Wednesday. I know there's going to be another math teacher there on Tuesday, and there's going to be some other high school helpers there the other days. So if your student doesn't have a sports obligation and they're like, they can come on Wednesdays, that's an awesome place to get their homework done. Okay. Oh yeah, thank you. There's a lot that goes on that this isn't all magic. I know that. So thank you for your support. I know I don't see most of it, but I appreciate it. And I'm going to just open up the chat. You're welcome to type in the chat, or you're welcome to go ahead and unmute. I'm going to stop recording, and then you can go ahead and ask questions. You're welcome.